Have you ever felt like your life isn't truly your own? Like you're always on call, always available, always expected to respond immediately to every demand placed upon you? In this always connected world, we've somehow convinced ourselves that being constantly available is a virtue, a sign of dedication and reliability. But what if I told you that this constant availability is actually costing you far more than you realize? Today, we're going to explore the hidden price you're paying for being perpetually accessible, and I'll share powerful Stoic principles that can help you reclaim your time, your energy, and ultimately, your life. This isn't about becoming selfish or disconnected. It's about understanding what the ancient Stoics knew thousands of years ago, that your time is the most precious resource you possess, and learning to guard it wisely is essential for a meaningful existence. Let's dive into this journey together. Number 1, the illusion of indispensability. There's a peculiar trap that many of us fall into without even realizing it. We begin to believe that we're absolutely indispensable, that if we're not constantly available, everything will fall apart. The emails will pile up unanswered, the projects will collapse, the relationships will crumble. This belief feels real, almost undeniable. But here's the uncomfortable truth: it's largely an illusion. The Stoics, particularly Epictetus, taught us to distinguish between what is within our control and what isn't. When you make yourself constantly available, you're essentially surrendering control of your most valuable asset, your time. You're allowing external forces to dictate how you spend each precious moment of your day. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you interrupted a meaningful conversation with someone you love to answer a work email that could easily have waited until tomorrow? How many times have you sacrificed your own rest, your own projects, your own peace of mind, because you felt obligated to be immediately responsive? Marcus Aurelius, despite being the emperor of Rome with literally millions of people depending on him, still understood the importance of creating boundaries around his time. He would retreat for periods of reflection and writing, producing what we now know as his meditations. If an emperor can establish boundaries, surely we can too. The reality is that most things that feel urgent aren't actually urgent. Most requests that seem to require immediate attention can wait hours or even days without any real consequence. By perpetually making yourself available, you're not demonstrating your value or commitment. You're actually training people to disrespect your time, because you've shown them that your time has no boundaries, no sacred spaces, no true value that must be honored. Consider what happens at organizations when someone goes on vacation. Does everything collapse? Usually not. People find ways to manage. Problems get solved. Life continues. This demonstrates a fundamental truth. Your constant availability isn't as necessary as you think it is. The cost of this illusion is steep. You sacrifice your own goals, your own well-being, and your own growth on the altar of being available. Meanwhile, the very people and responsibilities you're trying to serve would often be better served by a version of you who is rested, focused, and operating from a place of genuine abundance rather than depletion. Breaking free from this illusion requires courage. It requires you to accept that not being immediately available won't cause the catastrophes your anxious mind predicts. It requires testing your boundaries and discovering that, more often than not, everything turns out just fine. Number 2, the erosion of deep work and focus. In our hyper-connected age, we've become addicted to shallow work, constantly switching between tasks, responding to notifications, and maintaining a state of perpetual partial attention. But here's what we've lost in the process: the ability to engage in deep, meaningful work that actually creates value and brings satisfaction. Cal Newport has extensively researched this phenomenon, but the Stoics understood it long before our digital age. Seneca wrote extensively about the proper use of time, emphasizing that we don't have a short life, we waste most of it. When you're constantly available, you're hemorrhaging time into shallow activities that feel productive, but rarely contribute meaningfully to your goals. Deep work requires uninterrupted blocks of time. Your brain needs space to move beyond surface-level thinking and into the kind of focused concentration that produces insight, creativity, and quality output. When you fragment your attention across constant availability, you never reach this state. I used to pride myself on being responsive. I'd answer emails within minutes, reply to messages immediately, and be available for calls throughout the day. On the surface, this seemed productive, but when I actually examined what I was accomplishing, I realized something disturbing. I was busy all day, but producing nothing of real value. I was responding to everyone else's agenda while neglecting my own most important work. The Stoic practice of focusing on what matters most requires protecting your attention. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to concentrate on the task at hand, giving it his full attention without distraction. This wasn't just philosophical advice, it was practical wisdom about how to live effectively. Think about the last time you spent 2 or 3 uninterrupted hours on something that truly mattered to you. Can you even remember when that was? For many of us, such experiences have become rare luxuries rather than regular practices. We've traded depth for the illusion of responsiveness. The notifications that constantly interrupt us aren't neutral. Each interruption comes with a cognitive cost. Research shows it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully return to a task after an interruption. If you're being interrupted multiple times per hour, you're never actually reaching a state of genuine focus. You're spending your entire day in a state of cognitive fragmentation. What could you create, learn, or accomplish if you had regular access to uninterrupted time? What books could you write? What skills could you master? What projects could you complete? The opportunity cost of constant availability is immense, though it's largely invisible because we never see what we might have accomplished. Reclaiming your capacity for deep work requires deliberate action. It means creating sacred times when you're simply not available. It means turning off notifications, closing communication channels, and giving yourself permission to focus. The Stoics would recognize this as living according to your own reasoned judgment, rather than being reactive to external stimuli. Number 3, the deterioration of your relationships. Here's a painful irony. In our effort to be constantly available to everyone, we often become truly present to no one. Our relationships suffer not from absence, but from a particularly corrosive form of half-presence, where we're physically there but mentally elsewhere, always partially engaged with the device in our pocket. The Stoics valued genuine connection and meaningful relationships. Seneca wrote extensively about friendship, emphasizing quality over quantity and the importance of truly being with people rather than simply being near them. When you're constantly available to everyone digitally, you're rarely fully available to anyone in person. Think about the last conversation you had with someone you care about. Were you fully present, or was part of your attention monitoring your phone for notifications, ready to interrupt the conversation at any moment to respond to a text or email? If you're honest with yourself, you probably know the answer. This constant partial attention sends a message to the people in your physical presence. You're not important enough for my full attention. Someone else might need me, and they take priority over you. Even if we don't intend this message, it's what our behavior communicates. Over time, this erodes the quality of our relationships. I remember a turning point in my own life. I was having dinner with my partner, and I kept checking my phone for work emails. Finally, they asked me a simple question. Am I worth 1 uninterrupted hour of your attention? That question hit me like a punch to the gut. Of course they were worth it, but my behavior suggested otherwise. The Stoics understood that relationships require cultivation. They don't thrive on autopilot. They need your presence, your attention, your genuine engagement. When Marcus Aurelius wrote about being present to what is happening now, he wasn't just talking about work or philosophy. He meant being present to life, which includes the people sharing it with you. Children are particularly affected by parental constant availability to devices. They learn that they must compete with screens for attention. They internalize the message that they're less important than whatever is happening in the digital world. The long-term impact of this on relationships and child development is only beginning to be understood, but early indications are concerning. Even in professional relationships, constant availability creates problems. When you're always responsive, people never learn to think through problems independently. They become dependent on your immediate input rather than developing their own judgment and problem-solving skills. You become a bottleneck rather than an enabler. Quality relationships require boundaries. They require times when you're simply not available to the rest of the world because you're fully engaged with the person in front of you. This isn't selfish, it's respectful. It honors both the person you're with and the relationship you're building. The Stoic practice here is simple but profound. When you're with someone, be with them fully. Give them the gift of your complete presence. Turn off or put away devices. Create a bubble of attention that includes only the two of you. You'll be amazed at how this transforms your connections. Number 4, the sacrifice of your own development. When you're constantly available, you're perpetually in reactive mode, responding to what others need, want, or demand from you. But here's what gets sacrificed in this equation: your own growth, your own learning, your own development as a human being. The Stoics were deeply committed to personal development. They saw life as a continuous practice of becoming wiser, more virtuous, and more capable. Epictetus taught his students that the price of not working on yourself is being enslaved to those who do work on themselves. When you sacrifice your development time to be constantly available, you're paying that price. Personal growth requires time for several specific activities: reading and learning, which expands your knowledge and perspective; reflection and contemplation, which deepens your wisdom; practice and skill development, which increases your capabilities; and rest and recovery, which restores your energy and creativity. Constant availability consumes the time needed for all of these. I used to have ambitious goals. I wanted to learn new skills, read important books, develop new capabilities, but at the end of each day, I'd realize I'd spent zero time on any of these aspirations. I'd been busy, even productive in some ways, but none of my activity contributed to my own growth. I was helping everyone else achieve their goals while neglecting my own. Seneca warned about this trap. He wrote about people who live their entire lives for others, never taking time to actually live for themselves. They reach the end having served many masters, but never having pursued their own purpose. This isn't virtuous service, it's a form of self-abandonment. The opportunity cost of not developing yourself compounds over time. Every skill you don't learn, every book you don't read, every practice you don't develop represents not just a single missed opportunity, but a trajectory of growth you never access. Over years and decades, this creates an enormous gap between who you are and who you could have become. Think about where you want to be in 5 years. What knowledge, skills, and capabilities would you need to develop to become that person? Now think about your current schedule. Are you allocating any meaningful time to that development? If you're constantly available to others, the answer is probably no. The Stoics would see this as a failure to live according to your nature. As human beings, we have a unique capacity for growth, learning, and self-improvement. To not exercise that capacity is to live below our potential. Marcus Aurelius constantly pushed himself to learn, to improve, to become wiser. He saw this as his duty to himself and to others. Here's a crucial insight. By developing yourself, you actually become more valuable to others. A more skilled, knowledgeable, and wise version of you can contribute far more meaningfully than a perpetually available but underdeveloped version of you. The time you invest in yourself isn't selfish. It's an investment that pays dividends to everyone in your life. Reclaiming time for your own development requires seeing it as non-negotiable. Just as you wouldn't skip sleeping indefinitely or stop eating, you shouldn't sacrifice your growth. It's a fundamental human need, and meeting it requires protected time when you're not available for other demands. Number 5, the physical and mental health consequences. The human body and mind weren't designed for constant availability. We evolved with natural rhythms of engagement and rest, activity and recovery. When we override these rhythms with perpetual accessibility, we pay a price in our physical and mental health. The Stoics understood the importance of caring for the body as the vehicle for the mind and spirit. Seneca wrote about the need for adequate rest, and Marcus Aurelius recognized that physical health supported his ability to fulfill his duties. They would be horrified by our modern tendency to sacrifice health for availability. Chronic stress is the most immediate health consequence of constant availability. When you're always on call, your stress response system never fully turns off. Your body remains in a state of low-level activation, ready to respond at any moment. Over time, this chronic stress damages virtually every system in your body. The research is clear. Chronic stress contributes to heart disease, weakened immune function, digestive problems, headaches, muscle tension, sleep disturbances, and accelerated aging. It also significantly impacts mental health, increasing risk for anxiety, depression, and burnout. When you're constantly available, you're essentially choosing to marinate in stress hormones. Sleep quality suffers tremendously when you're perpetually accessible. If you're checking devices before bed and immediately upon waking, you're never giving your brain permission to truly disengage. The blue light from screens disrupts your circadian rhythm. The content you consume activates your stress response right when you should be winding down. The result is poor sleep, which cascades into every other aspect of health. I used to wake up exhausted despite spending 8 hours in bed. I couldn't understand why until I realized I was checking my phone throughout the night and first thing each morning. My brain never had the chance to fully rest because I was training it to remain partially vigilant for incoming demands, even during sleep hours. Mental health particularly suffers under constant availability. The perpetual stimulation creates a state of attention fragmentation that makes it difficult to experience calm or peace. Your mind becomes accustomed to constant input and stimulation, making it uncomfortable to simply be still with your own thoughts. This is a form of addiction, and like all addictions, it degrades your well-being. The Stoics practiced regular periods of retreat and reflection. Marcus Aurelius would remove himself from the demands of empire to think and write. Modern neuroscience confirms the wisdom of this practice. Your brain needs downtime to process experiences, consolidate learning, and maintain mental health. Without this downtime, cognitive and emotional functioning declines. Burnout is increasingly common, particularly among those who pride themselves on being always available and highly responsive. Burnout isn't just extreme tiredness, it's a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion that includes cynicism, detachment, and a sense of ineffectiveness. Recovery from true burnout can take months or even years. Prevention, through appropriate boundaries, is far preferable. The Stoic principle of living according to nature includes respecting your body's needs and limitations. You're not a machine that can operate continuously without rest and recovery. Pretending otherwise doesn't make you dedicated or admirable, it makes you foolish. As Seneca noted, the wise person takes care of their health so they can fulfill their purpose. Creating genuine downtime when you're completely unavailable isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for sustainable health. This means regular periods, daily, weekly, and annually, when you disconnect completely and allow your body and mind to recover. Your health is the foundation for everything else in your life. Sacrifice it, and you sacrifice everything. Number 6, the loss of solitude and self-reflection. One of the most profound costs of constant availability is the loss of solitude. In our hyper-connected world, we've become afraid of being alone with ourselves, constantly, filling any potential moment of solitude with digital connection. But solitude isn't loneliness. It's a vital human need that the Stoics considered essential for wisdom and self-knowledge. Epictetus taught his students to spend time examining their own thoughts and actions. Marcus Aurelius's meditations were written during moments of solitude, a dialogue with himself about how to live wisely and virtuously. Seneca wrote extensively about the importance of withdrawing from the crowd to connect with your inner self. These weren't peripheral practices, they were central to Stoic philosophy. Solitude provides space for self-reflection, which is how we learn from our experiences. Without time to process what happens to us, experiences simply accumulate without becoming wisdom. You remain reactive rather than thoughtful, repeating patterns without learning from them. Self-awareness, which is the foundation of personal growth, requires solitude. In solitude, you confront yourself without the distraction of external input. You hear your own thoughts, feel your own emotions, and recognize your own patterns. This can be uncomfortable, which is precisely why many people avoid it. It's easier to stay perpetually distracted than to face yourself honestly. But this avoidance prevents genuine self-knowledge. I used to fill every moment with input: music during commutes, podcasts while cooking, social media during any waiting period. I thought I was being productive, but I was actually avoiding something important, spending time with myself. When I finally started creating periods of true solitude with no input, no distractions, just me and my thoughts, I discovered parts of myself I'd been running from for years. Creativity particularly requires solitude. The most innovative ideas don't come during meetings or while scrolling through feeds. They emerge during quiet walks, long showers, or moments of daydreaming when your mind is free to make unexpected connections. By eliminating solitude from your life, you're essentially cutting off your access to your own creative potential. The Stoics believed in examining your day through practices like the evening review, where you reflect on your actions, considering what you did well and what you could improve. This practice requires solitude and unavailability. If you're constantly accessible, you never create space for this vital self-examination. Modern research confirms the importance of solitude. Studies show that people who regularly spend time alone report greater life satisfaction, deeper self-knowledge, and stronger sense of purpose. Solitude enhances creativity, problem-solving, and emotional regulation. It's not a luxury for hermits. It's a necessity for anyone seeking to live thoughtfully. There's also a spiritual dimension to solitude that transcends any particular religious tradition. In silence and aloneness, many people access something deeper than their everyday consciousness. Whether you frame this in spiritual or psychological terms, the experience is real and valuable. Constant availability cuts you off from this dimension of human experience. Creating regular periods of genuine solitude requires intentionality. It means scheduling time when you're completely alone, with no devices, no input, no obligations, just you with yourself. This might feel strange or even frightening at first, but it becomes increasingly valuable over time. The question to ask yourself is simple. When was the last time you spent extended time completely alone, with no devices or distractions? If you can't remember, you've lost something essential. The Stoics would see this as a serious problem, a disconnect from your own inner wisdom and guidance. Reclaiming solitude is reclaiming yourself. Number 7, the enabling of others' poor planning. When you're constantly available, you inadvertently enable other people's poor planning and lack of personal responsibility. Instead of learning to plan ahead, think independently, or solve their own problems, people learn that they can simply reach out to you whenever they need something, regardless of whether it's actually urgent or if they simply failed to plan appropriately. The Stoics were big on personal responsibility. Epictetus taught that each person is responsible for their own actions and choices. When you make yourself perpetually available to solve other people's problems, you're actually doing them a disservice. You're preventing them from developing their own capability and judgment. Think about this pattern. Someone has a task due tomorrow that they've known about for weeks. Instead of working on it earlier, they wait until the last minute, then contact you in urgent mode, expecting your immediate assistance. If you drop everything to help, what have they learned? That poor planning works because someone will always bail them out. This isn't about being unkind or refusing to help people. It's about recognizing that your constant availability often enables dysfunction rather than supporting genuine need. There's a huge difference between helping someone with an actual emergency and rescuing someone from the consequences of their own poor choices. I used to be the person everyone called when they needed something fixed, solved, or handled urgently. I felt good about being helpful, but I eventually realized I wasn't actually helping. I was enabling a pattern where others didn't have to develop their own capabilities because they knew I'd always be available to solve things for them. In trying to be helpful, I was actually making them less capable. Marcus Aurelius understood that part of wisdom is allowing people to face the natural consequences of their actions. Not cruelly, but with the recognition that consequences are often the best teachers. When you protect people from the results of poor planning by always being available to rescue them, you rob them of important learning experiences. Setting boundaries around your availability actually helps others become more resourceful and independent. When people know they can't count on your immediate response, they're forced to think ahead, plan better, and develop their own problem-solving skills. You're helping them grow by not being constantly available. This applies in professional contexts as well. If you're a leader or manager who is always immediately accessible, your team never learns to make decisions independently. They become dependent on you for every minor decision and problem. But if you create appropriate boundaries, they develop their own judgment and capability. You're building a stronger team by being less available, not more. The Stoic principle here is about fostering virtue in others, not just yourself. Virtue includes qualities like prudence, self-discipline, and personal responsibility. When your constant availability allows others to avoid developing these qualities, you're not serving them well. Of course, there are genuine emergencies and legitimate urgent needs. The key is distinguishing between these and manufactured urgency created by poor planning. A true emergency that couldn't have been foreseen, absolutely respond. But the urgent request that results from someone's procrastination, that's optional. Learning to let people experience the natural consequences of poor planning feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you've been the person who always saves the day, but it's actually an act of respect. It says, I believe you're capable of handling this yourself. I trust you to solve your own problems and learn from your mistakes. That's far more empowering than constant rescue. Number 8, the erosion of your own priorities and goals. Perhaps the most insidious cost of constant availability is how it gradually erodes your connection to your own priorities and goals. When you spend your days responding to everyone else's agenda, you lose touch with your own. Your life becomes a series of responses to external demands rather than a deliberately chosen path aligned with your values. The Stoics were deeply focused on living according to your own reasoned judgment and values. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of what was truly important and what deserved his attention versus what was trivial and distracting. He understood that not everything that demands your attention deserves it. When you examine how you spend your time, does it reflect your actual priorities? If someone looked at your calendar and your activities, would they be able to accurately identify what you claim to value most? For most people living in constant availability mode, there's a significant disconnect between stated priorities and actual time allocation. You might say your family is your top priority, but you constantly interrupt family time to respond to work demands. You might claim health is important, but you sacrifice sleep, exercise, and healthy eating to remain available. You might value personal growth, but you allocate zero time to learning or development. Your behavior reveals your true priorities, and constant availability often reveals that your priority is other people's agendas, not your own. I had a list of goals: write a book, develop certain skills, deepen important relationships, create meaningful work. But months would pass with zero progress on any of these goals. Why? Because I'd filled my time being available and responsive to everyone else. I was accomplishing plenty, just none of it related to what I actually cared about. This creates a deep dissatisfaction, a sense that you're busy all the time, but not actually living your own life. You're an extra in everyone else's story, rather than the protagonist of your own. The Stoics would see this as a fundamental failure, living according to external pressures rather than your own wisdom and judgment. The path forward requires getting clear on what you actually value and want from your life, then ruthlessly protecting time for those priorities. This means accepting that you cannot be all things to all people. You must choose, and when you choose to protect time for your priorities, you're necessarily choosing to be less available for other demands. Seneca wrote extensively about this. He observed that people complain about life being short, but the reality is, we waste most of our life. We fritter away our precious time on things that don't matter to us, failing to invest it in what we claim to value. Constant availability is one of the primary ways we waste our life. Here's a powerful practice. At the end of your life, what do you want to have accomplished? What relationships do you want to have nurtured? What kind of person do you want to have become? Now work backward. What needs to happen this year, this month, this week, today, to move in that direction? How much of your current activity aligns with that vision? For most people, this exercise reveals a sobering truth. Much of how they currently spend their time has nothing to do with where they want to end up. They're climbing a ladder only to potentially discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. But you don't have to wait until the end to discover this. You can adjust now. Reclaiming your life requires making your own priorities non-negotiable. Create sacred time for what matters most to you, and protect that time as fiercely as you would protect anything else you truly value. Be less available for demands that don't align with your priorities, and fully present for what does matter. The Stoic goal is to live in accordance with nature, which for humans means living according to reason and virtue in pursuit of what's truly good. Constant availability to external demands is incompatible with this goal. You must create boundaries, protect your time, and live deliberately rather than reactively. Now let's explore the solution. How do you break free from the trap of inconstant availability? Here are powerful Stoic strategies to help you reclaim your time and your life. Strategy 1. Practice the Stoic art of prioritization. The Stoics, particularly through the work of Seneca, emphasize that we must be fiercely selective about how we spend our time. Not everything that can claim your attention deserves it. The practice here is distinguishing between what's truly important and what merely seems urgent. Start by identifying your core values and priorities. What actually matters to you? What do you want your life to be about? Once you have clarity on this, evaluate every request for your time and attention against these priorities. Does this request align with what matters most? If not, it's probably optional. Create a personal mission statement, a clear articulation of your priorities and values. When demands come in, measure them against this statement. This gives you an objective criterion for decisions rather than just reacting emotionally or habitually. The Stoics practiced constant reference to their principles. This is a modern application of that practice. Learn to distinguish between urgent and important. Many things feel urgent but aren't actually important. Constant availability mode trains you to treat everything urgent as if it's important, but this is a mistake. True importance aligns with your values and long-term goals. Urgency is often just other people's poor planning or anxiety becoming your problem. Strategy 2. Create sacred, unavailable time schedule, regular blocks of time when you are simply not available. These are non-negotiable periods dedicated to your priorities, whether that's deep work, family time, personal development, or rest and recovery. Treat these blocks with the same respect you'd give an important business meeting, because they are important. Communicate these boundaries clearly to the people in your life. Let them know when you're available and when you're not. Most people will respect boundaries if you establish them clearly and consistently. Those who don't respect them are revealing valuable information about their lack of respect for you, which you can respond to accordingly. Turn off notifications during your unavailable time. Better yet, turn off notifications in general and check communications at designated times. You don't need a notification every time someone emails you or messages you. Batch your checking and responding into specific periods rather than maintaining continuous partial attention. Create physical boundaries too. Have a separate device for work that you can leave in another room during personal time. Set up your home so that certain spaces are technology-free zones where you never bring work devices. These physical boundaries reinforce the mental and temporal boundaries you're establishing. The Stoic practice of retreat, even brief daily retreats for reflection and rest, is essential for maintaining your center. Protect this time as fiercely as Marcus Aurelius protected his time for contemplation despite running an empire. Strategy 3. Develop comfort with others' disappointment. One of the main reasons people maintain constant availability is fear of disappointing others. But here's a Stoic truth. You cannot control other people's emotions and reactions. Their disappointment is their responsibility, not yours. Your responsibility is to live according to reason and virtue, which includes respecting your own needs and limitations. Epictetus taught that we should concern ourselves only with what is within our control. Others' reactions to your boundaries are outside your control. What is within your control is whether you establish and maintain appropriate boundaries. Do your part and let others be responsible for their reactions. Practice saying no without over-explaining or apologizing excessively. A simple, "I'm not available at that time," or "I can't take that on right now," is sufficient. You don't need to justify your boundaries or convince others that they're legitimate. State them clearly and kindly, then hold to them. Remember that people who truly care about you will understand and respect your boundaries. Those who react badly to reasonable boundaries are revealing their expectation that you should sacrifice yourself for their convenience. This is valuable information about the nature of that relationship. The Stoic practice here is accepting what you cannot control while exercising wisdom regarding what you can control. You can control your boundaries. You cannot control whether others like them. Make peace with this. Strategy 4. Model healthy boundaries for others. When you establish appropriate boundaries around your availability, you're not just helping yourself. You're modeling healthy behavior for others, particularly if you're in a leadership position or if you have children. You're showing that it's possible and necessary to have limits, to prioritize appropriately, and to live deliberately rather than reactively. In professional settings, leaders who maintain constant availability often create unhealthy organizational cultures where everyone feels pressured to do the same. But leaders who model appropriate boundaries demonstrate that success doesn't require sacrificing everything else in life. This creates healthier, more sustainable work environments. For parents, modeling healthy relationships with technology and availability teaches children important lessons about priorities, self-respect, and how to navigate an increasingly connected world. Children learn more from what you do than what you say. If you're constantly on devices being available to everyone, that's what they'll learn to do. Talk openly about your boundaries and why you've established them. Help others understand that your reduced availability isn't rejection or lack of care, but a deliberate choice to be more present and effective in the moments when you are available. Share what you're learning about the benefits of protected time. The Stoics believed in contributing to the common good. By modeling healthy boundaries, you're contributing to a culture that values depth over constant reactivity, presence over perpetual availability, and deliberate living over passive responsiveness. Conclusion: the hidden cost of constant availability is steep. It robs you of deep focus, meaningful relationships, personal development, physical and mental health, solitude, and connection to your own priorities. It enables dysfunction in others while eroding your capacity to live deliberately according to your own values. But you're not powerless. The Stoic wisdom offers a path forward. Prioritize ruthlessly. Create sacred, unavailable time. Develop comfort with others' disappointment and model healthy boundaries. These aren't signs of selfishness, they're marks of wisdom. Remember what we've learned today. Your constant availability creates an illusion of indispensability while actually diminishing your effectiveness and well-being. It fragments your attention, damages your relationships, prevents your growth, harms your health, eliminates solitude, enables others' poor planning, and disconnects you from your own priorities. But by applying Stoic principles, you can reclaim your time, your attention, and your life. You can be more present when you are available because you've protected time to restore yourself. You can do deeper, more meaningful work because you've created space for focus. You can build stronger relationships because you've learned to be fully present. The Stoics sought to live according to nature and reason, finding freedom through wisdom and self-discipline. In our hyper-connected age, this means having the wisdom to know that constant availability isn't a virtue but a trap, and the discipline to establish and maintain appropriate boundaries. Your time is the substance of your life. How you spend it is how you spend your existence. Don't let it be consumed by constant reactivity to everyone else's demands. Reclaim it, protect it, use it deliberately for what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that we have only today, only this moment. Stop frittering it away in constant availability. Make it count. Create the boundaries that allow you to live fully, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully to the world. The path is clear. The principles are timeless. The choice is yours. Will you continue sacrificing yourself on the altar of constant availability? Or will you reclaim your time and live the deliberate, meaningful life you're capable of? I invite you to take action. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below about which hidden cost resonated most with you and which strategy you'll implement first. And remember, you're not here to be constantly available to everyone. You're here to live fully, which requires protecting your time, your energy, and your presence for what truly matters. Find that balance, establish those boundaries, and discover a life where your time is truly your own, and you're finally available for what matters most, living with intention, wisdom, and purpose.